Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial series. On this tutorial I am going to be creating a new NPC or our first NPC, and whenever my character goes in and talks to him, he's going to show up some dialogue. So let me play this and kind of show you what's going on. Scale this up a little bit. Okay, so I also added a little bit of flair, I would say, to our game. So I added some lights, a little house, and I made them also collidable, I guess. So I added collisions so you can't really walk there. So the way it works is I'm going to go in and I'm going to press Z, and this NPC is going to have some information that he's going to be sharing with us. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to split this video into a couple actually, because there is some complex logic that we're going to be writing. But for now, let's get to the video. All right, so this is the project that we've been working on. So the first thing is I want to add some special sprite that we can use for the NPC. So I'm going to put in the link in the description, a sprite that looks just like our hero, but it's blue instead. So click here, and let's do all of the changes to break down this sprite sheet. So first thing, I'm going to change this to multiple pixels per unit. I'm going to change it to 16. The quality I'm going to set as none, and the filter mode, no filter. Hit apply. Go to the sprite editor. Here in the sprite editor, I want to slice. I want to do by cell grid. So basically, we're breaking down a hero here. I can do a 16 by 32 pixels. And then, do you see that it's looking kind of weird? So the way I can fix this is by offsetting this to something like 28. Okay. I think 28 would look good. Then we click slice. Then I got my three little characters here. When I create it for you guys, I'll add more so we can add some animations and stuff, but I think this will work for now. Hit apply. Then good. Now let's go ahead and let's drag our little hero in here. Once dragged, I'm gonna name him. Let's name him Arthur for some reason. Great. Arthur, I want to put the sorting layer for Arthur as player. And let's put him, let's adjust him to our player here. So let's do like a 5 and 2. 2. Let's see, player is it's 2.5, 1.8. So do 5.5. 2.8. Well, 1.8. Yeah, I think that could work. Yeah, this looks good. Now that we added the character, if I hit play, you're gonna see something. I can still move through it, and he's kind of like flying over the space. So let's fix the position first. If you click on Edit, and you go to Project Settings, if you go under Graphics, there is this camera settings, which is basically, hey, how is the camera gonna position things in the game? The transparency sort mode is set by default, so let's change that to custom axis. Let's put the Y value, the Y axis as the transparency sort axis, and play the game, and you're going to see what happens. We play the game. Now, my hero, if my hero is behind the Arthur, the NPC, it's going to be behind. If he's in front, it's going to be in front. That's because we set the transparency sort axis as the Y axis. So that's why that happens. Now we need to add some collisions for our NPC. Let's do that. The first thing that we'll do is we're going to click on Arthur, then we're going to click on Add Component, and let's add a rigid body 2D. Then let's add a box collider. Actually, let me show you this. If you type collider, there's all these different types of colliders. So this will depend a lot on how your character or NPC or your object will look like. For this one, we can use the box one. Remember that the body type has to be static, otherwise it's gonna fall off like our other video. And then for the box collider, we can click on this button and edit. So I can change sort of the collider box here to basically whatever I want. So I'm gonna reduce this a little bit, and that should look good. And the next thing we need to do is we need to add a layer. So we can tell our player, hey, if you are ever gonna touch a layer X or layer whatever we call it, then you cannot walk. So let's go ahead and create a layer. Let's do edit layer. We have the solid objects layer. Let's create the interactable layer. And then let's assign Arthur to interactable layer. So once I did that, I can press play. No, I cannot press play yet. I have to add that layer into our player controller. So let's click scripts, and let's double click on the player controller. It pulls up right here. And let's add another layer. So public player mask. So the interactables layer. Once I add the layer, I just have to go here and is walkable, and I have to add that layer as well in the code. So what this is doing is I'm basically saying if you're going to overlap a solid object or an interactable, then you can't walk. And remember, this is what we set up here in our update function for the target position. Let's save. Let's test our game. Play. Still not walking. Why is that? Yeah, I remembered. We forgot to add to the player. We forgot to tell the player, hey, which one is the interactable layer? So let's change that to interactable. And I kind of like the way I wrote this. Sorry about my terrible writing. I'm going to change this to interactable layer instead. Let's change this to interactable layer. And now let's try again. Yet. So let me test this again and figure it out. Let's debug together, people. I have my player controller. Player controller is here. Oh, interactable. So because I changed, it changed it over there. So let's change it again. Let's hit save. Let's play the game. And now, there you go. Now I should be blocked by my little character. This is great. Looks like things are working. Now, let's go ahead and let's add a function that whenever I press the Z button, I am going to check if there is an interactable there. And if there is our NPC, then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to shoot a little message. Okay, so let's go and let's implement that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my player controller, my update function. Let's give it an if statement. going to grab an input. So let dot hit key down. So whenever if I'm pressing a key down, that key I'm going to use dot C. So whenever I'm pressing C, I'm going to run this function interact. This one. Got an error that you don't have the interact function. So let's go ahead and let's have that. Interact. Here is where we are going to implement the logic. So let me explain the logic to you a little bit, just so it makes sense what we're doing. We're going to create a little rectangle for our player, and the same one for our little NPC. So the way I want to check if my player can interact with something is basically I have to see what position he's looking at. So I have to create like some logic that's gonna tell me what's the block, what's the title next to him that he's looking at. And then if he's looking at or if he's touching from his face a interactable object, then I want to run that function. So let's say if he's looking that way, but the hero is here, it's not going to work because I'm just trying to gather this area right here. So I want to try to gather this area right here. So hopefully that makes sense. That was my attempt to explain that to you. So let's go ahead and implement. The first thing, we need a facing direction. We need to check what is the new direction. So this is going to be a new vector 3. And how we can grab that is actually quite easy. We just need to, the facing direction is basically going to be the move x and move y variables that we have here for our animator. So we can just use these variables. So for vector 3, I'm going to put animator dot get float. And the float is going to be move x. Then another animator dot get float, and this one is going to be the move y. Now with the facing direction, I have a facing direction that I'm looking at. Now I want to know what's the next block over. So to do that, we can create a variable called interact position. And what we basically have to do is sum the current position plus the facing direction, which basically is going to say, hey, whatever position you are plus whatever you're looking, if you add those two, you're going to end up with the interact position, which is going to be the block that you want to interact. If this is kind of confusing, you can debug this by creating a debug dot draw line, and in that draw line you can create a transform dot position. You can pass an interact position, put a color dot red, and you can put line of 4. So let me explain what that is. By debugging, you can draw a line that is going to take a position, that's going to draw a line from your position to the interact position. The color is going to be red and she's going to be in the system for 1 second. So let's test this out. Let's run play. But to actually see it, you can only see it in this scene. So you're going to do this. So now I'm going to press. Do you see how there is a red line going on at the bottom? And looks like it's pointing correctly to our interact position. So this is a super helpful tip that I learned. from getting that experience, by the way. That is teaching how to add the line here and how to debug the scene position. So now that we have this implementation correct, let's go ahead and let's implement the interactable. So the way I'm going to do it is a little bit quite simple. Let's go ahead, let's comment this out. Let's do jar collider. Let's create a collider. It's going to check physics to circle. Right position. Put a very small value here. And then interactable object. Explain what this is. Basically, we're gonna go and check and see if we're overlapping between the interact position and the interactable layer. So we're saying, remember that line? If in the end of that line, right, in the end of the line, there is an interactable layer, then we could do, so if collider. So if there's something there, so it's not null, meaning there is an interactable layer there, then what we can do is, let's do this, debug dot log. There is an NPC here. Let's just debug right here. And let's go ahead and press play. So let's bring this back. The game. Let's press play. I press the button. There's an NPC here. Nice. So if I press here, nothing. If I press here, nothing. If I press here, nothing. If I press here, boom, there is an NPC here. So now we can go ahead and continue the implementation, and we can implement our NPC lines and dialogue, and eventually, this is where I see this series going. I'm going to implement a battle system, which is going to be very similar to Final Fantasy, the classic Final Fantasy games. So stay tuned for that. This is the end of this video. Hope you like it. Thank you very much. See you soon.